Beverly Council on Aging welcomes you to our program, Livin' the Good Life, designed to explore our beautiful city and the world around us.
Hello and welcome to Livin' the Good Life. I'm your host, Louise Fennell, and our guest today is Peter Gilmore, a local attorney who is here to tell you all about many interesting issues that come at us when we get older. Mainly, we'll talk about nursing homes. Peter, would you like to tell people a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Louise. And by the way, it's a pleasure to be back again. It's good to see you.
Good to have you.
We saw us a couple of weeks ago. I have a practice here in Beverly. I'm an estate planner and a mediator. I've been in practice in Beverly for about 30 years, or a little bit more than that. The focus of my practice is, for lack of a better term, elder law, although I really hate that term, but that's what everybody says. But working with folks on life planning, asset protection strategies, things that really impact the family as family members age. It's a fascinating practice. It's a fascinating business, and you know we're all moving along. So it's planning is important.
And could we concentrate today on that big boogeyman, for me anyway, nursing homes?
We absolutely can. We absolutely can. It is probably the subject that most troubles folks who come to consult with me, and it's understandably so. It's a subject which can, it's a thing, it's an event that can create financial catastrophe, family problems, family issues. It really is a highly charged subject. And so it's one that's very timely.
Right, yes. And do you have any gems of wisdom about how to protect your money?
Well, we do. You know, we should probably talk a little bit about, if we can, take a minute to talk about how one pays for nursing home care if, unfortunately, one is one of those statistics, one of the people who will spend some time in a nursing home during their lifetime. And we're really not talking so much about rehab, which is a common stop for people who have come out of the hospital. They may have had a fall, they may have had some event, and they need a few days or a few weeks of rehabilitation. That's a subject separate, I think. We're really talking about long-term nursing home care. And people worry, how does one pay for this? What do I do? Do I have to spend all of my money? I think people are, one of the things that we as human beings want to be able to do is to leave a legacy of some kind for our heirs. And people are concerned that the nursing homes are going to impact that. And they're rightfully concerned because it can. So let's talk a little bit about ways that one pays for nursing home care.
Sounds good to me.
If one is fortunate enough, one pays out of one's pocket. One pays, writes a check every month. Understanding that the cost of nursing home care now is $10,000, $11,000, maybe $12,000 a month. So there are very few of us who can do that. People with the wherewithal, the ability to do something like that, probably are aging in place, staying at home, or with family, and having 24-hour care at home. So there are really three other options. Medicare and health insurance, your gap coverage will pay for some portion of your nursing home stay. It's limited to 100 days, and Medicare will only pay as long as the medical staff in the facility will certify that you are not a chronic care patient, but are still an acute care patient. You're still progressing. You're still benefiting from the treatment.
I had a question. You brought something up that is kind of a fear for me, and I'm sort of dealing with whether or not I should get long-term care
insurance.
Insurance, right? Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that. I always tell clients that if you can afford long-term care insurance, that's the biggie. Very expensive. As we get, to the point where we're seniors now, and I am one of us, I include myself in that group. The cost of long-term nursing home care insurance is really exorbitant. So it's a question of whether you can tolerate the premium cost. If you can, I encourage anyone and everyone who has it, the ability to pay for it, to have it, because it provides you with a lot of protection that you don't otherwise have.
Okay.
And in fact, long-term care insurance probably eliminates a great deal of the need for someone like me to do some work with you, because it protects you against some of the things that we try to shield you against.
And will it make any difference in the kind of care you get?
It will not.
Oh.
The law is very clear. No matter how you pay for your care, whether it be out of pocket, whether it be through Medicare. We're going to talk about Medicaid, because Medicaid, what we know in Massachusetts as Mass Health, pays the lion's share of the cost for people these days. But no matter who pays for your care, you are guaranteed the same level of care.
Oh, great.
What you're not guaranteed, and this is important for people to consider as they sit with a planner and try to figure out some strategies, you're not guaranteed choice. So if you are, from the beginning, a Mass Health patient, you may not have a choice of facilities. You may have to go where there is a Mass Health slot available.
Okay.
So we're often counseling folks to think about paying at least for the first month of your care, or if you're eligible for Medicare, and there are some technical requirements, you have to go into the nursing home after a 3-day hospital stay. All right, so you've got to be an uninterrupted move from the hospital into the nursing home. Medicare will then pay for some period of time. And once you're in the nursing home then can't move you out, all right? Even if your next payer is Mass Health. Right?
Okay.
So they can't force you to leave at that point in time. You're guaranteed the ability to stay where you are in place.
Yeah, I know when I went through some of this with my mother, and she was living with me, and it was getting to be too much to take care of her. And I couldn't seem to find a nursing home to get her into. And someone said, your only hope is going to be if something happens and she ends up in the hospital, and then they can get her into.
Right.
And actually, she fell and broke her hip, and that is what happened.
And that's so common,
but is that the only option?
Well, the only option besides writing the check yourself for that first month, if you call nursing homes and say, I need a nursing home slot for my parent or for my uncle, my cousin. Excuse me. And you have the ability to pay for that slot for at least a month, you're going to get the slot. You're going to not have a problem with it. And again, even if the next month you are going to become a Mass Health patient, you're there and you're safe. So always give some thought to the idea that you may have to take a deep breath and write a big check. And that's just how it is. Just not much to do about that. So long-term care insurance takes on some of the costs. It pays some of the daily rate of your stay. You can combine it with Mass Health if the daily rate that it's paying is below what Mass Health typically pays. It will certainly ease the burden of what you have to pay out of pocket. So if the daily rate for a nursing home is and it's approaching $400 a day, and you have $300 a day of coverage for your long-term care insurance,
yeah,
it doesn't eliminate the cost, but it certainly makes it a little bit easier to bear. Okay?
Yeah.
So I tell folks, if you can get long-term care insurance, get it, because it really is your best bet.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, a lot of folks are reluctant. Insurance.
Right.
What if I don't need it? Do I get it back?
Yeah.
No. The other value of long-term care insurance is that it will pay for care at home if you need less than nursing home level care, or the care that you need is serious but can be managed at home with some supports. Right. Then long-term care insurance will cover some of that cost as well.
Okay.
So it can be very valuable. Very valuable.
Yeah.
So I just, as I said, encourage everyone to get it if you can manage it.
If you can.
However, excuse me, in reality, the cost is such, and the underwriting of it is such, that it's very difficult to get.
Okay.
But yours truly applied at one time for long-term care insurance, just to see what would happen, and see what the premiums would be.
Yeah.
I have chronic back issues.
Yeah.
And they said they wouldn't insure me. I was uninsurable.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, because what's happened is the insurance companies came into the state gung-ho, thinking, oh boy, we're going to make a lot of money doing this.
Sure.
And they've found out that they either did something wrong, the actuaries got something wrong somewhere along the way, but a lot of companies have just left the state and just stopped writing insurance because they've found that it's just too expensive. So if you can't write it yourself and your Medicare benefit has run out and you don't have long-term care insurance, your only option really is then Mass Health.
Okay.
But one has to understand that Mass Health is a need-based program.
Okay.
So you have to be financially eligible as well as medically eligible. And it's the financial eligibility that poses the problem for so many people. Really? And which really requires planning.
And now what are the difficulties? I know you, what is it? Did you tell me one time it's like $2,000 or something?
For an individual, it's $2,000 of what we call countable assets. So if you have more than $2,000 of countable assets, then you will not, at least on paper, on that basis, be eligible for Mass Health.
Ooh.
Now, what are countable assets? Just about everything except your home, your automobile, personal property in your home, and if you get a company pension, so let's say for a lot of folks who, Beverly, who worked for the shoe, for example, maybe get a pension from the shoe, from the old United Shoe, that will not be a countable asset. The reason is that they can't take that money out. They're entitled to get a monthly benefit, and so that's what they'll have, but they can't cash out the pension. So everything else you have, if you have an IRA, you have a 401k, you have life insurance that has cash value, all of those are called countable assets. And if your countable assets exceed $2,000, then you have a problem. So that's what you need to think about and what you need to plan for. The law allows you some ways to maneuver around the $2,000 limit. So, for example, you can take some of your money and pay down your mortgage on your house. You can do repairs on your house. You can buy yourself what we call a pre-need burial plan. You can set up a burial account in a bank, put $1,500 into that burial account, buy a new car. Just don't get a Jaguar or a Mercedes.
And now does a lawyer, someone like you, do that for you? Or?
Well, we will counsel, We'll certainly work with folks. A big part of my job is developing a plan, a strategy for protecting against the eventuality. We often have people who come in saying, what do I do? my parent needs nursing home care. What do I do with those assets? Now, it's going to happen next week. Right. Medicare just sent a letter saying, we hate to inform you, but your benefit is going to stop in 2 weeks. You have a right of appeal, but the reality is that those appeals are rarely, if ever, successful. So we do both crisis planning. We don't prefer crisis planning.
Sure.
I try to encourage people to plan ahead, to do their work sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And that's, I suppose, good advice with any planning. The sooner you do it, the better off you'll be. And we can do it in either of those two ways. Tying back some things we may have talked about at the show several weeks ago, one of the very critical pieces of planning now, before the eventuality, is the proper documentation.
Okay.
People really must have, as I said last time, a durable power of attorney and a healthcare proxy. Have to have them, because you can't do a lot of the kinds of planning that we talk about on a crisis basis, anyway, a last-minute basis, without that power of attorney. All right, because you may need to change certain assets. You may need to try to convert them into a different form. You may even try to give them away if you can figure a legitimate way to do that. But it's hard to do that if you're not competent, if you're not capable of doing it. Somebody has to be able to do that for you.
So, for instance, someone like me, I'm getting older, but I'm in good health right now. So I keep thinking, sometime I need to think about this. But it's always like, sometime.
You need to think about that now.
Now? Okay.
Now. At least the power of attorney, at least a healthcare proxy. While you're competent, it does not have to be one that takes effect when you sign it. It can be a delayed document so that it will become effective only when your doctor says you're no longer capable of making decisions for yourself. But you've got to have that power of attorney. You just have to have it. And I never really say that to clients, except in that one case. Really have it. It's really critically important, because it enables someone to do things that maybe didn't get done earlier on.
And do you usually do that with your oldest child, or?
It's really a matter of personal preference. It's really a difficult choice for a lot of folks. I understand that, but it's I try to stay away from that as much as I can, and just to encourage them to make the choice that seems best for them.
Sure.
Now, circling back to Medicaid and Mass Health, people should understand that the $2,000 is a kind of a moving target in some respects. For a married couple, the actual limit is almost $120,000 now, because the spouse who does not require nursing home care is allowed to keep approximately $118,000 of assets. So if that, what we call the person who is living in the community still, stays healthy, this is a good thing. He or she gets to keep those assets, and we don't really have as much of an issue.
I wondered, because that 2,000 to 120 or so is from one person to two is a huge gap.
Yes, it really is. Well, if there are any gifts in this law, that's probably the one. And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is very generous in the sense that that's the some states make that the ceiling. Right? You don't automatically get to keep the 118. That's the max that you can keep, and then they have a formula. Massachusetts says that's the minimum. That's what you get. So if a married couple has $120,000 of countable assets, then, and one of the spouses needs nursing home care, then he or she should be easily made eligible for Mass Health, and that eases the burden of of having to pay
Okay,
out of
sure.
one's pocket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because that 2,000 seems like how many people are eligible for that?
Not many.
Right.
It absolutely requires some transferring of assets, moving assets around. Again, purchasing a burial plan, for example, or doing some other things. Getting medical equipment, for example, paying for medical bills, things of that sort. Those are expenditures that you can make and not jeopardize your eligibility. You can't just give the money to your son or daughter or your grandchildren and say, here, hold on to this for me.
Okay, yeah.
Except if you do it now and then don't require nursing home care for a period of 5 years.
Okay.
Right? Then you're okay. Because anything you do today is legitimate, even if it's just a giveaway, it's a gift.
Yeah.
As long as you don't need nursing home care for 5 years.
Right.
Or don't ask Mass Health to pay for you within that 5-year period of time.
And is there a limit to how much
Nope.
per year? Or
Nope.
No?
Well, there is for those folks who really don't have to worry about Mass Health, because Massachusetts doesn't have a gift tax, and the federal, the state, and gift tax is now $5 million. So that's the threshold at which it attaches.
Okay.
So in reality, you can give away as much as you want, unless you're over the $5 million mark. Right?
Yeah, I don't think I have
I'm not
to worry
either,
about
so I'm not doing that either.
No concern there.
Yeah, and so that is one of the strategies that can be employed. That is, if you have excess assets, you can give them away. Right? Now, that's not an easy thing to contemplate.
Really,
It wouldn't be for me. Yeah. So we're talking about really a leap of faith, taking a deep breath and saying, giving a child, for example, a big gift, giving a grandchild a big gift.
Yeah.
And you can only really do that if you know that you're not going to need the money.
Right.
Or it's not money that you need to live on. There's some ways of doing it. But it takes advanced planning. I mean, given that 5-year waiting period that we always have to be concerned about. So a lot of folks talk about transferring real estate if they own a house.
Yeah.
They want to prevent the Commonwealth of Massachusetts from putting a lien on their house. So you've got to change the way things are owned. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength to say, okay, here it is. I'm going to put my kids in charge. I'm going to put myself in a position where I need their cooperation and their help. And it takes a big jump to do that. But the downside, of course, is that assets will be exhausted for care.
Right.
And there won't be anything left to build a legacy for the next generations.
I know one of my daughters is always saying to me, you think you have a lot of money, but don't forget your mother lived to be 93.
Right.
And my father lived to 86.
Right.
So what seems to me like a lot of money could easily be gone before I am.
Very rapidly, very rapidly. And I always stress for people, as I would for you or anyone else who comes to see me, that this planning that we're talking about is really for the benefit of other people.
Not for yourself. Not
for yourself. It really isn't, except to the extent that leaving that legacy is important to you. If that's really important to you, then it's for you. But if it's not so important for you, then we have to understand that whatever we do is not going to change the outcome for you. It's not going to change the quality of care that you get. Because as we said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're a Mass Health patient or you're not a Mass Health patient. It doesn't matter. So if you say, hey, I don't care, I'll use my money, whatever I have left, I'll pay for my care. And if your family says, do that, and you feel comfortable doing that, then you're all set. Still need a power of attorney, still need a healthcare proxy, but you don't really have to worry so much about, am I going to have to give all my money to the nursing home? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it's a process that's full of big decisions, important decisions.
Right, yeah.
And I think one of the things that I would encourage everyone to do is to sit with family and talk with family about it. Not just about how are we going to do this if it happens, but also one's wishes for medical care, wishes for financial care.
Right.
All of those things are best dealt with and most successfully dealt with by families who sit and do some talking in advance and then planning a strategy for accomplishing those goals.
Right. That's good. I'm really glad that you're saying these things because, I have this notion of, I'm really healthy and, I don't have to worry about this for a while and all of a sudden a while is here. And we're getting close to time to wrap this up. So
already,
I know it's gone fast, but I think you just made an excellent point. But do you have any other really incisive points to make before we close?
I just want to reemphasize the importance of planning, of just not avoiding the issue. It may indeed never be an issue for you. You may never need nursing home care, and we hope that that's the case.
Right.
But if you do, the planning is so critically important. A lot of heartache, a lot of stress, a lot of unhappiness can really be avoided by just sitting down, talking with a professional, getting some ideas about, here's what I have, what do you think? All right?
And are there many people specializing in this?
There are quite a few. We have an organization in Massachusetts called, and we're part of a national organization. There's a national organization of elder law attorneys. We have a Massachusetts chapter. There's a website.
Okay.
So if someone is looking for a lawyer and you're not in Beverly, and you can't come to Beverly,
we'll tell them come to you.
but you can find lawyers. There are quite a few.
There are
very capable people, and just probably most give free consultations. So go, take advantage. All right. And I'll also say this to you, if I have a moment. Every 3 months, next time is September 12th, I'm at the Senior Center here in Beverly. Just meeting with folks, free, no charge.
Great.
You can call the Senior Center, make an appointment to come down and see me.
Okay, thank you. And thank you very much, Peter.
You're welcome.
I've really enjoyed this, and I will get on it.
All right, you best.
Okay, this is Louise.
I'm going to call your
Fennell.
daughter and tell her.
Right. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Again, for all of you, please start living the good life.
You've been watching Livin' the Good Life. We always welcome your comments and suggestions for future programs. Call us at 978-921-6017.